is inevitable. One must destroy in order to create. We are no Jedi.
I started hearing whispers of Thrawn's return as heir to the Empire.
What happens when we find Thrawn?
Power, such as you've never dreamed.
I've spent most of my life fighting a war. That's why I'm trying to convince you to help me prevent another one. You and I both know who could help you with this.
She's still just as stubborn as ever.
I bet your master found you difficult at times.
Anakin never got to finish my training. I walked away from him, just like I walked away from Sabine.
You never made things easy for me, Master.
As a Jedi, sometimes you have to make the decision no one else can. But I'm counting on you to see this through.
Nice haircut. Sometimes we have to do what's right, regardless of our personal feelings.
Buckle up.
If we don't stop Thrawn, everything will be in vain. You have no power.
Anakin spoke highly of you.
I'm not here to discuss my past.
We have a lot of work to do.
Once a rebel, always a rebel.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. There's a brand new Ahsoka trailer, a whole bunch of Star Wars Easter eggs, so we'll break it all down. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the episodes. They also just announced they're releasing the first 2 episodes on the same day, but it's an 8-episode series, so the rest of the episodes will be weekly, like The Mandalorian. Just starting at the beginning of the trailer footage and working our way through shot by shot, talking about Easter eggs and WTF moments, they start with the voiceover from Ray Stevenson, R.I.P., may he rest in peace. He passed away just recently. His Baylan Skol character talking to his apprentice, Shin Hati, about the necessity of war. Like, war is inevitable, it's going to happen. That's probably meant to be a larger conversation about the war that's coming that Thrawn is bringing, the heir to the Empire, who they also reference several times and show us during the trailer, like a full-on shot of Thrawn. A lot of big name drops happening in this trailer, like we also get a bunch of Anakin Skywalker coming from Ahsoka, making the possibility of his cameo scene as a Force ghost or a flashback way, way higher. He is listed on the IMDb, but I'll talk about that when we get to that part of the trailer. Based on the way they cut the beginning of the trailer here, they make it seem like this ship that's heading towards a Republic ship or New Republic ship is Baylan Skol's ship. He boards a New Republic ship for some reason, attacking, and it seems like Shin Hati is with him because she's also attacking a bunch of people on the bridge of that same ship. That's part of the scene of him going full Darth Vader hallway scene in Rogue One and Luke Skywalker during The Mandalorian on all these rebels. But the difference being that his lightsaber, as Dave Filoni said, is purposefully meant to be more orange than full Sith red. The way they explained his backstory is that before the events of this series, he's a Jedi that survived Order 66 and turned into a mercenary. And within the context of the Ahsoka series, because they're doing this based on the Heir to the Empire Thrawn trilogy of books, he's sort of taking the place of the Joruus C'baoth Jedi Master character that Thrawn winds up working with. Shin Hati is just another Force-sensitive person who's become his apprentice since Order 66, but she would have been a child at that time. When he talks about the need to destroy in order to create, they're probably talking about destroying the New Republic and aligning with Thrawn so that he will destroy the New Republic. But I think part of the idea is that he doesn't want everything that Thrawn wants. Like, Thrawn wants to bring the Empire back, but Baylan Skol has this completely different goal that he's using Thrawn for. Like, Thrawn is using him and he's using Thrawn. More like the enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of situation. So it's not like he and Shin Hati necessarily like Thrawn. We get a longer version of the scene from Ahsoka in the last trailer where she's in that Jedi temple looking at one of the carvings, talking about Thrawn coming back as heir to the Empire. Those are meant to be a couple different scenes sort of stitched together though. The Jedi temple that she's in is meant to be different from the one that Baylan Skol is in later. This Jedi temple that she's in the underground ruins of is part of the action scene at the beginning of the last trailer. She does wind up finding some of Thrawn's HK droids there though, so some of Thrawn's people are there. We see the same shot of Thrawn on one of his new ships that he's found while he's in the unknown regions. There was a whole subplot during the original Thrawn trilogy of books, the Heir to the Empire trilogy, where he finds this fleet of ships. This could be part of that storyline that they're adapting. His forces before he jumped into the unknown regions were called the 7th Fleet, but it's possible that he lost some of those ships and then replenished them and made his forces larger with other ships from the unknown regions. This is part of the larger action scene that Ahsoka has with Baylan Skol with their big lightsaber fight, but it looks like they're using the Force to try and find Thrawn specifically. And it seems like his minion from the Mandalorian series, Morgan Elsbeth, has found a way to actually locate him or contact him. I'm guessing the ship in the background is either Baylan Skol's ship or it's Morgan Elsbeth's ship. We saw that ship in particular in the previous trailer. When Baylan Skol starts talking about power, I think he's talking about something completely different. I think he might be looking for the world between worlds. Talk about Jedi time travel, like I think he's just using Thrawn and Thrawn is using him. But one of the big things is that Thrawn was trying to help his people, the Chiss, and they had trouble navigating through hyperspace because you can't really do that in the unknown regions the same way. Thrawn had been looking for Force-sensitive people to help his people navigate through hyperspace, so his bargain with Baylan Skol could have something to do with that. Based on the extra context now, it seems like this is a New Republic fleet where you see Hera addressing the New Republic Senate. The war that she's talking about spending most of her life fighting is the Rebellion, the events of the original trilogy. Her name is General Hera. She became a general in the Rebellion. We get another scene of Chopper with her. I'm sure we'll get more scenes of him in future trailers. Mon Mothma comes back. It seems like she's going to be in at least a couple episodes, or maybe just one episode. Then when Ahsoka comes back to visit with her and they talk about going to get Sabine Wren for help, I think this is meant to take place during the time jump at the end of Star Wars Rebels. Like it takes place right before the events of the original trilogy. Then you jump to this live action moment that they feature later in the trailer. So I think this scene is meant to explain what she was doing before she came back to Lothal to pick up Sabine at the end of Rebels. And probably one of the big revelations of the trailer here is that Sabine was training as a Jedi, as the apprentice to Ahsoka, confirming that she is Force sensitive. I always assumed she was during Rebels, but they never specifically stated that. Like, she used the Darksaber, she's used other lightsabers before. The reason why she has Ezra's lightsaber during this trailer is because Ezra left the lightsaber with Chopper when he took off into the unknown regions with the space whales, and she just kept Chopper with her on Lothal. The reason why she stayed on Lothal and Ahsoka took off is because she made a promise to Ezra Bridger to protect Lothal in his absence. We get another Anakin Skywalker name drop. There's so many Anakin Skywalker name drops. Don't you feel now like there's going to be a Force Ghost Anakin cameo scene during the series? This scene in particular is basically Ahsoka recapping the events of Star Wars The Clone Wars and how she left the Jedi Order, how she stopped being Anakin's apprentice officially. Even though she left the Jedi Order and she technically wasn't his Padawan anymore, they still felt very close. That's why the events of Revenge of the Sith and his fall to the dark side were so gut-wrenching to her Order 66, because it'd be like your best friend turning into the world's worst person. This scene of them talking about being master and apprentice make it seem like they're actually back on the Ghost. Pretty much the entire crew of the Ghost is coming back from Star Wars Rebels, like we saw Zeb during the Mandalorian series. The scene of Sabine on the speeder bike is also very similar to the scene of Ahsoka coming back after her long absence during the Clone Wars. We get a longer scene of Sabine listening to the holo recording of Ezra talking about becoming a Jedi Knight, and even though they didn't have conversations about it during the events of Star Wars Rebels, it sounds like, at least off-screen, they had conversations where Ezra expected her to train in the Force and become a Jedi Knight at some point. Otherwise, why would he have made this holo recording for her? And it seems like this explains why she cuts her hair, because she goes back on the mission with Ahsoka and becomes her Padawan officially again, like they start their training again. There was also the line from David Tennant's Jedi droid in the previous trailer where he said, perhaps it's time to begin again, and it's kind of meant to be a generalization about a bunch of different characters, Sabine beginning to again become a Jedi Knight. Then they essentially do a live-action version of the very end of Star Wars Rebels, with Ahsoka coming to get her in front of the mural here. Exact same scene. And if you didn't watch Star Wars Rebels, the mural behind her is her art style, but it's done in the art style of Star Wars Rebels, like all the characters look like they did during Rebels. But it's Sabine Wren who did all this art herself. That's why all of her Mandalorian armor, because she is a Mandalorian, is graffitied in her own art style. One of the weirder things about The Mandalorian Season 3 is that there weren't any cameo scenes from House Wren or Sabine in that final episode. I didn't see any Clan Wren banners during that, but I'm assuming that they would have been there as well too. This is a much longer scene of Ahsoka against Thrawn's HK droids in the Jedi Inquisitor. Still a lot of people wondering if this is just going to be Ezra underneath the armor. There's going to be some huge twist because it seems like it's a male and it's much taller, and she has another fight with it in that forest. The weird thing about the Inquisitor fights, if it's not a flashback, is that the Inquisitorius didn't really exist after the events of the original trilogy, so you wonder why is this Inquisitor still wearing the Inquisitor armor? When they're in Ahsoka's ship, they almost wind up running into one of the space whales, one of the Purgles. There was a brief cameo scene from the Purgles at the beginning of the Mandalorian series with Grogu seeing them in hyperspace. One of the reasons why they're so big metaphorically and literally during the Ahsoka series is because there was a big arc with the Purgles during Star Wars Rebels early on, and then at the end of the series, the space whales are what took Ezra and Thrawn's fleet into the unknown regions. They're meant to be highly intelligent, and Ezra Bridger's kind of like their friends. That's why they helped him out at the end of Star Wars Rebels. We get the full-on shot of Thrawn. I know people are wondering about the special effects. They might tune it up a little bit. There were some potato-quality versions of him that leaked out earlier. But it is Lars Mikkelsen coming back to do the character. He did the voice during Star Wars Rebels. He did say he had to tune his voice just a little bit for live action because the animated version of his character just sounded a little too sing-songy when he did that in live action.
I believe Agent Fulcrum will prove far more useful to the Empire than Callus ever was.
It seems like a bunch of the characters are fighting in this forest here. Then we get another big info bomb, another big reveal. Baylan Skol knew Anakin Skywalker before Order 66 in Revenge of the Sith when he fell to the dark side. Remember, Baylan Skol used to be a Jedi that just survived Order 66, so it sounds like he might have a little bit of a beef against Anakin. Maybe he's made his peace with that. But I do like the idea that he knew who Ahsoka was immediately on seeing her, like, oh yeah, you're clearly Anakin's Padawan. He talked about you all the time. Then we get a longer scene of that Jedi Temple scene from the beginning of the trailers with Ahsoka running. It seems like Thrawn tries to blow it up during their fight here, or Thrawn's people try to blow it up. We get another new scene of David Tennant's Jedi droid back. Dave Filoni confirmed it is the same one from Star Wars The Clone Wars. He's over 1,000 years old. He knew most of the modern Jedi for the past 1,000 years or so, including Master Yoda when he would have been a Padawan too, when he would have been Grogu-sized. And they make another big Star Wars Rebels callback when Hera says, once a rebel, always a rebel. Now, obviously, it's a Rebel Alliance reference, too, because they were all part of the Rebel Alliance. But because the Ahsoka series is meant to be kind of like a live-action Star Wars Rebels Season 5, it's more of a Star Wars Rebels reference. And even though we don't see him anywhere in the trailer here, Jason, Hera's son, with Kanan, is supposed to be part of the series, too. He's also Force-sensitive. But there's so many new scenes. If you spotted any other Easter eggs or references that I didn't talk about in the video, just write them below in the comments. And I'll do more bonus videos as we get more footage in the next couple of weeks. There's a bunch of stuff happening this week. There's a new Blue Beetle trailer that's dropping. I'll try to do a video for that soon. And my full Secret Invasion Episode 4 video will post on Wednesday. So be sure to enable alerts so you don't miss any of that stuff. Click here for that brand new Deadpool 3 teaser with Hugh Jackman's Wolverine in his full-on yellow costume from the comics. And click here for all my other Ahsoka trailer videos. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.